I'm going to cover just a bit of background on biocontrol in the province. You will see there's some of the slides in my presentation that looks a little bit different. Those are compiled by some of the researchers working on that specific target weed. So please bear with me, especially on those slides. Just for a little bit of background, biocontrol, Mpumalanga specific, we only started in about 2002 when we had our first dedicated biocontrol officer. From our side, from a biocontrol officer's side, we focus on implementation of biocontrol. That's the releases of the agents on target weeds, and then presence absence monitoring on the release sites, where we just basically check, is it there, is it not there, did it establish or not establish. All the research into the agents, the mass reading, and the more detailed post-release monitoring that are done by the research institutions such as the ARC, the Agricultural Research Council, some universities, and then also SASRI, which is the South African Sugar Research Institute. So regionally we've done releases on about 32 weed species. 28 of those are terrestrial plants, and then 4 aquatic weed species. I'm going to start with the aquatics first. In some sense they're the easiest. We've done releases on 4 of the big 5. We used to talk about the big 5 aquatics. That was water hyacinth, parrot's feather, kariba weed, water lettuce, and then the red water fern. So the only odd one out that is the most difficult of the lot to control is the water hyacinth. It's normally a sort of a water quality issue, why we're struggling in the first place with the water hyacinth infestation, and then also why in some cases we can't just rely on biocontrol, we have to do integrated control where we use chemicals as well. The other 4 aquatics, we only do biological control. Biological control works very well in the other 4 species, so there's no need to even bother or look at doing chemical controls. For the azolla, the red water fern, it's under complete control nationwide. We don't even do active work on it. There's no reason to collect insects and measure insects and do releases. And those insects are spread throughout the country. We do get flare-ups sometimes, especially in the highveld, sort of late summer, late spring, early summer of the red water fern. But then it's just a matter of time when the insects catch up and they have it under control. As far as the submerged aquatics are concerned, those are a bit more problematic. We also, in some instances, have indigenous submerged grasses and stuff that becomes a problem. Like I said, they are problematic. In some cases, they're opportunistic species, where it's got to do with your water quality, or they prefer brackish water. So if you've got brackish water, then you might have an explosion of some of these submerged grasses. In Mpumalanga, we haven't done any releases on submerged weeds. I think the only biocontrol that's available for the submerged weeds is on a hydrilla, which is a problem weed in Pongola Dam. But so far, Mpumalanga, we haven't done anything. We don't really have, I'm not aware of hydrilla. I know, Chris, maybe I heard you involved with some hydrilla trials. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not aware of any hydrilla sites. So when you talk about control on target weeds, in terms of biocontrol, there's various degrees of control that we receive. Biocontrol is in most cases not the silver bullet. It's not going to solve your problem overnight or in 2 weeks or in a month's time. If that's your goal on your property, I'm going to be very honest with you. I probably shoot myself in the foot, and I'm going to say biocontrol is not your option. Then you'll have to go with chemical or mechanical. So on On terrestrial weeds, we deal with all sorts of plants. We've got trees, shrubs, climbers, and cacti. And like I say, we've got various degrees of control. Some of these agents that have been released are relatively new. We only received approval quite recently. So in those cases, we haven't even determined, whether it's established or not. And also we haven't determined the level of success, the level of damage it has on the target weed. So there are a few plant species where we've got extensive control. For those ones, biocontrol is your answer. You don't need to look at chemical control or mechanical. Biocontrol will sort it out for you. Those are your queen of the night and your Riccia cactus. Also the prickly pears, there's normal sweet prickly pear and then the sour prickly pear that Llewellyn has mentioned. So for the queen of the night we use an agent that's a mealybug, and then for the prickly pears it's mainly cochineal and then also the moth. Which works also really well is on the Cylindropuntia species, which is also cochineal. And then the other big favorite of mine is the agents on red sesbania. Again, we use a combination. There are 3 different insects. The one is a flower bud feeder, a seed feeder, and then a stem borer. So the combination of those 3 agents will completely, not completely, but it will 90% destroy your plant population. So in all honesty, I would say if you're looking at chemical control, you're wasting your money. There's no need for that. Fortunately, Mpumalanga doesn't have a major cacti problem. But so the species we do have, we have successful biocontrol for. So yellow bells. Everybody knows yellow bells by now, I'm sure. Nelspruit was nice and yellow here in winter time. One of the agents that were released on yellow bells is a fly beetle. It's the Mada polluta. So it was brought in from Mexico. The initial releases were done in about 2013. We had a bit of a problem with getting it established in the early years. Sites were destroyed, sites were cleared, there were fires, and also the dry conditions we experienced there for a few summertimes that didn't help. So they did more releases at 6 sites last summer season. They did find establishment of all those at all 6 sites, but that establishment will be confirmed this coming summer season. And then they plan a release of a new agent for this coming summer season as well. Then cat's claw, the creeper. That's also a bit of a mixed bag in terms of results. They've released all the available agents on cat's claw in the province. There's 5 different ones. For various reasons, we either didn't have establishment or had initial establishment and then the insects died out. Most of the work on some of these agents has been discontinued, but the one that we're still working on and will still do releases is the Vicenda agent. So there's also a pathogen on the cat's claw that came, well, it was discovered sort of in 2016. They're not quite sure how it came in. We didn't bring it in. So we do get outbreaks of the pathogen since about 2018. It causes defoliation of the plant in a short space of time. It's actually quite impressive if you see it. And it's present widely throughout the province, from a petrative to hazy view. So there are some constraints, again, with the establishment and the impact. Basically, if you look at the time since the releases was done up to now, if we haven't seen results by now, then it's probably highly unlikely that we'll see any results. Also climatic incompatibility. We do have seasonal dryness in some regions, so that it's not always the best for the agents. Site suitability is also a big factor. It's not only with cat's claw the case. A lot of the other target weeds, we have the same issue. So cat's claw we can find in a host of microhabitats, but those microhabitats are not necessarily suitable to the agents. So for instance, if you look at that picture, which is in an urban setting in town, we have these nice cat's claw on the walls, on the pavements, or in the towns, in the cities, and it looks like, oh, this is going to be a nice site to do releases. The insects doesn't like that. They don't want to be in town. They want natural settings out in the field. Just to give you an idea, this is some feeding damage from the Vicenda agent in the Groot Mariko, but unfortunately we don't see the same results in Mpumalanga. So basically, the way forward now is they suggest that biocontrol is basically only your best long-term solution to control the cat's claw creeper. So after the first infection from the pathogen, you will have defoliation, but then it reaches sort of an equilibrium level, and then your agents, your Vicenda, will re-establish, but at low numbers, but at least then you've got both of them, you've got the pathogen and the Vicenda present. So the plan is to continue mass rearing the Vicenda and possibly another agent, and then just collect from natural infestation. So it's basically field collection. It's not mass rearing in a lab setting. So then when we get to the Tithonias, the sunflowers, we've got both the red and the yellow sunflower, or Mexican sunflower in Mpumalanga. There are 2 psychogramma agents for the red sunflower. I'm aware of 1 release of a psychogramma on the red in Mpumalanga, but I'm not sure what the result was. When we look at the Mexican sunflower, that's a bit better. They've done releases at 11 sites so far, of which 4 is established. But they're still working on the post-release monitoring, so the damage hasn't been quantified yet. But this, that's sort of the damage you will see in a lab setting, where it completely defoliates the plant. Okay, pom-pom weed. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with pom-pom weed. It's something you only see summertime, and people mainly pick it up once it starts flowering. That nice yellow, round little pom-pom. Not yellow, sorry, pink. And then it dies back in winter time. So we do active releases on pom-pom for the thrips, which is a stem gauler. And then there's also a pathogen, the rust fungus, that we found on the plants. So the thrips are established very, very well, especially in the Barberton area, where we've done most of the releases. The prison farm and then a private farm, sort of halfway between Barberton and Nelspruit. They just spread very slowly, so you need patience. But where they do establish, they are doing really, really well. They cause deformation of the plant, stresses the plant, so it limits the seed production of the plant. Then there was also a new agent released, moth, now in February this year. So come summer season, we'll go and see if it has established preliminary establishment. Just to come back to pom-pom maybe, I'll talk about it a little bit in the last slide, but fire is normally a problem when we look at biocontrol sites. Fire and gogokies doesn't mix very well. But in case of pom-pom, it's actually not a problem as long as the fire is in winter time. When the plant has died back, then you've got the bulb underground. The insects also overwinter on the bulb underground, and we found in areas that have been burned, those insects emerge come new season with the plant. Lantana, I'm sure everybody knows lantana. It's a big problem in the province. So over the number of years, biocontrol in Mpumalanga has been going for more than 100 years. Not sure when was the first agents released on lantana, but over a span of years, we've got somewhere between 40 and 50 different agents released on lantana. Only 16 of them has fully established countrywide. So I will almost bet you if you've got lantana on your property, you will probably have at least one agent present on it. 11 of those 16 agents are listed as causing moderate to considerable damage, and one does extensive damage, and that's the one I'm most excited about. That's the flower galler. So instead of producing a proper flower and then seeds, it forms these growths basically. So that would have been a perfect flower, each one of those, and then seeds. So the catch is, there's always a catch. It only works on certain varieties of lantana, not all of them. About, I think, 60 to 7% of the varieties. But on those where they do establish, they can cause up to 94% seed reduction. It's also quite well established around the Barberton area, even Badplaas, Nkomazi area. It's just I'm not too sure about more north towards Selby, Hazyview, Bushbuck. I'm not too sure about the establishment around there. When they said, when we sort of got the information for which varieties to look at, they said the sort of salmon pink flowers, but I found them on the white pinkish flowers. I can just say with 100% certainty, those bright red ones, no, they don't go near that. So buckwheat, also a very well known target weed. Unfortunately, not such good news for biocontrol. There's a relatively old agent around, Gargaphia, which is a leaf sucker. The damage in terms of the bigger picture is seen as trivial, but we do get occasional outbreaks of it here in the Lowveld, where it completely defoliates the plant. You'll just see these sort of dry stick stems standing there, and then it looks impressive, very wow. But yeah, it's occasional outbreaks, and then it seems like it also prefers the full shade inside plant plantations. That's always where we get the outbreaks. So nothing, in your streams and other open areas where we normally have a problem with buckwheat. Then we had a new agent a few years ago that we released. We were all quite a bit excited about it, the flower bud feeder, which will cause seed reduction. But then unfortunately we found we can't get it established at high altitudes. It prefers really low altitudes, like something less than 250 meters above sea level. Even in KZN, they only get it established right at the coast. So unfortunately, most of Mpumalanga is out for that one. Then triffid weed, which is a big problem in the Nkomazi area, now going Barberton, and it's coming into White River and Nelspruit as well. There are a few agents released already. I'm just going to touch on 3 of them. Parakitis, which is a moth, was released in the early 2000s. And there was a lot of effort going into the releases, and then it sort of disappeared. You never found them at the release sites. and the work was sort of discontinued on that one. And then all of a sudden, I think it was about 2018 or somewhere, we started seeing these outbreaks of parakeetes. And one of those is around Komatipoort. It seems like it prefers the sort of the wetter habitats. That's where you'll normally get the outbreaks. The damage it's caused is quite extensive. It defoliates the plant, but it's localized. It's not all over the place. Lixus is a stem borer. Normally your stem borers are the ones that cause the most damage and can cause die-off of the plant. But Lixus has got a 1-year life cycle. So we only get very low numbers normally to release. We did manage to get them established at 3 sites. They're still there, but they are present in low numbers. They're sort of just ticking over. And then a new one, which is also a stem borer, Rekia, was released for the first time last year here in town at ARC. So it's early days. We can't say anything. We still need to determine whether it actually established or not. And then they're going to look at the damage. So Parthenium, someone was talking about Maria. I think you know, some of the farmers know it as the Moina Bossie. It likes your disturbed soil. What we do find is that if your disturbance stops, then normally your grass will outcompete the Parthenium. So there was, we've done quite a few releases on Parthenium, mainly in Kumazi area. A lot of sites, I think we're close to 100 release sites. Llewellyn also touched on some of the biocontrol for that. We use Smicronix, which is a sort of a seed feeder, Listernotus, which is a stem boring weevil, and then Psychogramma is the other one, which Llewellyn has mentioned. So, and there's also 2 pathogens, 2 fungus that we talk about, winter rust fungus and the summer rust fungus. So at this stage it seems like Listernotus and Smicronix together with the pathogen they're the ones that are most common present and easiest to establish. But there's variable establishment. They don't establish at all the sites we release. I think it's got to do with climatic conditions, soil temperature as well. Okay, so from recent studies done by the ARC, they can see that with the presence of the biocontrol agents, there's a significant reduction in the Parthenium cover and seed production. So even if it doesn't, if you don't see a significant difference to the naked eye, there is actually quite a bit of difference that they do make. There's additional agents that they are working on at the moment, so hopefully soon we'll get those out in the field. Then the acacias, the wattle species. I know it's not such a big problem in the low veld, but it is quite a big problem high veld areas. And we do some work on the wattles. It's mainly the species we've got is black wattle, silver wattle, green wattle, blackwood, and then pearl acacia, which we don't have a lot of, but there are a few around. So mainly the main insects are seed feeders. The catch is, like I said, there's always a catch. They only feed on the seed in the pot that hangs on the tree. They do not feed on the seed in the ground, so they will not destroy your seed bank. Wattle is also of economic value, so we will never ever have an insect get approved for release that will affect the growth of the tree, the quality of the timber, the quality of the bark. So it will always be just a seed feeder or something that reduces seed production. The other thing that we've got on black wattle specific is a flower midge, a flower goller. It does very, very well in Western Cape, Eastern Cape, but we have issues. Seems like it's a summer rainfall. It seems like it's something to do with the amount of moisture that's available in winter time. So then that's when the larvae drops out of the galls, goes into the soil to pupate. We managed to get 2 sites established. The one, we think we lost it. They died off. And we're sort of at the end of our wits now on what to do and how to get it established up here in the summer rainfall season. For your seed feeders, there's also a bit of a catch when it comes to Mpumalanga. We can't seem to get it established at altitudes higher than about 1,580 to 1,600 meters. We don't know if it's an oxygen thing, if it's temperature, or what the case may be. But yeah, we've tried and no luck. So the blackwood is sort of an exception there. That seed feeder is absolutely everywhere. Even high altitudes, it's spread really, really well. So we're not doing really much active dispersal of that. So yeah, that's basically the end of my story. I just touched on a few species. I can't deal with all of them. But if you're interested in biocontrol, or you want to find out, I've got this certain plant species, is there biocontrol available for it, please get in contact with me. There's my email address. We are always looking for release sites, and safe release sites. If I say safe, then I mean, please, no clearing, no planned fires, no chemical control. Even in agricultural settings, when you have Parthenium growing here in between your sugarcane or citrus orchards, it's not ideal, because you're doing pest control, you're probably spraying insecticides, and that's going to negatively affect our gogoetjies. So we're looking for long-term safety of sites. And then in some cases, there are some climatic conditions that we will have to look at, where we prefer sort of shady areas, or areas that stay sort of moist during winter time. And then we ask for patience from you guys. Like I said, biocontrol is not a silver bullet. It takes a long time, but it does work. So we need patience from the land user or landowner's side. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daleen. And the message that I've also learned over the last couple of months when it comes to biocontrol is definitely patience, patience, definitely long marathon run. Any questions? Daleen has already told us, if you're looking for biocontrol agents, get in touch with her. There are various breeding sites around the country specializing in various agents, all the way from Cape Town all the way through to this area. I know the lot is being done in KwaZulu-Natal as well. So any specific questions? We can move on. None? Leon? Baie dankie. Oh, timing is perfect. There we go. Excellent. I'll back up again. Great.